Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you a few reflections on the gospel on this 27th Sunday in Ordinary Time. You know, when I was growing up, my family had a rule. Mom and Dad said, no running in the house. So, of course, one day I'm chasing my sister through the house and I bumped into my dad's favorite ashtray and I broke it. Ugh, what am I going to do? But I heard about this brand new invention called super glue that could fix anything. So my plan was I was going to hide the ashtray, get some super glue, fix it, and case closed. So I had the perfect place to hide my dad's ashtray. It was in my neighbor's cement mixer, which was in our side yard. I know. But anyway, I hid it in the cement mixer, and then, of course, the next day, my neighbor turns on his cement mixer, and he hears a racket inside it and looks inside, and now there's the ashtray and even more pieces, and he recognizes it as my dad's, and he pulls it out, and he goes over to the house and says, Bob, is this your ashtray? And my dad says, kids? And my sister immediately says, he did it. And my dad said, Jim, did you break an ashtray and hide it in a cement mixer? And I said, why is it that it's so hard for us to admit wrongdoing? Why is it that it's so difficult for us to simply say, yeah, I did something wrong? You know, we try to hide it. Why is that? Is it because we're afraid of the blame or the retribution or the shame involved? And it's not just for kids. I mean, even for adults, we get pulled over by the cops and, officer, I couldn't have been speeding. Or what do you mean tailgating? I wasn't that close to that car in front of me. We defer things all the time, like those corporations who pay out a lawsuit, but they say we admit no blame. You know, come on. Why can't we? Especially because there is something that is so essential to admitting wrong, to admitting error. Our Catholic Church calls us to that. And isn't it interesting that at the beginning of every one of our masses, we all pray the same prayer? I confess to Almighty God and to you, my brothers and sisters, that I have sinned. It's a truth about ourselves that we have to embrace. I am a sinner. It's not all I am. I am more than that too. But I am that. I am a sinner, and I must embrace it if I'm going to live in the truth. And if I don't, well then, I live in the darkness. I live like those Pharisees that Jesus was talking about in the parable. They had been harassing him for quite some time, demanding to know who he thinks he is and where does he get his authority from to be able to work miracles, or who is he to preach to people, and how come you're talking in the synagogue, and who do you think you are? Jesus responds by, who do I think I am? Let me tell you who you are. And then he tells this wonderful story about a landowner who builds a beautiful vineyard. And he puts his tenant farmers in charge with the understanding that come harvest time, he would come and get his fair share of the crops. And so come harvest time, he sends out his servants, but the tenant farmers are greedy. And so they beat and kill the servants. So he sends more servants, and they do the same with them. And then he says, I'll send my son. Surely they will respect my son. And the farmers kill him too, until finally he sends his army and chases them all away and kills them all, and then have other tenant farmers come in to take care of that vineyard. And Jesus is saying to the Pharisees, that's who you are. You're those tenant farmers. God has given you this beautiful vineyard to take care of in his name. And what do? You kill all his messengers. And then he sends the prophets and you kill them too. And then he sends even his own son, and you want to kill him also. You're those evil tenant farmers. And as easily imagined, the Pharisees are furious at being described that way. And as we know, in time, they killed him for it. They could not see, let alone admit, the truth about themselves. It's a tough thing for anybody to do, to be able to acknowledge our sinfulness, to acknowledge our wrong, and to embrace that. But we have to. We have to in order to live in the truth of ourselves. You know, I have this friend who's a recovering alcoholic, and he's been recovering for years now. And I asked him once, I said, now that you've been, sober for so many years, are you kind of over it? Like alcohol doesn't have any grip on you anymore, and you're pretty much free of that. And he said to me, no, I have to wake up every morning and say, I'm an alcoholic. And if I don't, I'll guarantee you, by evening, I'll be drinking. That was the truth about himself that he continuously embraced. And because he did, he could be sober, he could be free. And that's something that we have to do. We have to acknowledge whatever it is that is our weakness, whatever it is that is our sinfulness, we have to embrace that. And again, that's not all that we are, but we have to embrace that. And if we do, then something wonderful happens. Then we become free to live like God. There's a quiet truth in that parable Jesus told, the truth about the nature of God. Because we see that vineyard owner send out a first wave of messengers, and the tenant farmers killed him. And then he sends another wave of servants and messengers, and they kill them. And then he's going to send his own son. And who wouldn't say to him, have you lost your mind? You're sending your son? Don't you know what they're going to do? They're going to kill him too. Are you crazy? But he does it anyway, because that is the nature of God. He gives his people chance after chance after chance. He forgives and forgives and forgives. And when we embrace the truth about ourselves, we admit our weaknesses to God and self. Well then, as Jesus one time said, the truth will set you free. And then we can be free of that weakness. We can be free to live the truth. And when we do that, we can become free to live like God. And then we can forgive and forgive and forgive.